This is an impossible Lego piece. Unlike normal bricks, it can't snap, click, or connect to any other part ever made. In this video, I'm going to solve the challenge of not only working with impossible parts, but make a whole Lego city using them as unique features in fully custom buildings. Because these pieces were never made to work, the smart thing to do is to hide them and pretend like they don't exist. Seeing how I'm not that, smart, that is, I'm gonna need a game plan. When working on a big project like this, one where I have so many things to do and build, it's kind of overwhelming to know how to even start. Insert your mom joke here. Okay, going forward, to prevent a crash out and actually get this done, my plan is gonna go something like this. Starting with easy mode, this is when I can be lazy and use official Lego sets to start filling out the city and get a feel for how it's gonna turn out. Next is hard, which shouldn't be too much of a problem because I already am. When I get to that part, I'll have to use a random piece from a Duplo bin to build a fully custom building. Using the word build a lot. And the final section is impossible. That's when I'll have to discover new techniques to use whatever this is supposed to be, and a few other odd and weird parts that have zero ways to connect to any other Lego. Now before any of that, I need some land. This is 1 stud. This is 2, 4 studs, 6,144 studs. And I'm just gonna keep building until I fill up this entire area with stores, restaurants, streets, and anything else I can think of. I'm also gonna make this blue. Blue plates are cheaper. I quite enjoy making buildings in a smaller scale, and there are a handful of sets that'll be both great for the building size and to help really start filling out the city. This is the Monkey Kids City of Lanterns, and it's full of tons of storefronts, like a Tiny Panda convenience store, karaoke bar, boba tea shop, and even a micro Lego store with tons of vintage sets for sale. With the bigger buildings, there's a 2-story hotel and a fully stocked ramen restaurant. On the first floor of the restaurant, there's a gift shop on one side and dumplings to go on the other. Upstairs is a completely accurate hot pot grill where you can cook your own food. Why anyone would go to a restaurant to pay to cook their own food is beyond me. Together they will add some much needed height to the skyline. Most of these buildings come off the base really easy, except for you. Info booth, no one was ever excited about your inclusion anyways. Despite being this small, all of the buildings look really clean, except for the back. The majority of Lego sets are made like a dollhouse where only 3 of the 4 walls actually exist. This is great for play, but terrible for display. And as an adult, that's all I ever do. Just display. I never play. Because that would be inappropriate and weird, and you're supposed to grow up, and I'm not sure who I'm trying to convince right now. The back's being open kinda really bad, but with a quick wall, matching the bricks of each building, they're much more complete. Going forward, I'll be adding some quick walls for the rest of the sets to seal them off from any oversized hands. Placing them all down really starts to liven up the streets. That I don't have yet. I have a plan to solve for that later, but for now, I have another 2 awesome sets to run through. This is the Megaplot City and Monkey Kids Team Hideout sets. Just like the first City of Lanterns, these 2 are full of more awesome tiny buildings. The Hideout is based on rule in ancient China with the Red Shrine, Vintage Noodle Restaurant, Outdoor Panda Market, Metal Forge, and much more. While Megaplot City is much more modern, with a classic space skyscraper, radio station above a jade store, another noodle restaurant, seamstress under an acupuncture clinic, and my favorite, a gachapon or capsule toy store. That's not including this kebab grill, Lego vending machine, another shrine, and the Ferris wheel. Between these 2 sets, and new walls of course, I'll be adding 10 more structures onto the city streets. If I had any. Rounding out the Monkey Kid Speed Blitz is yet another noodle shop. This time, it came as the small side build with this giant monkey mech. It sells noodles and dumplings downstairs, and has a small studio apartment upstairs. Right outside is a video game arcade cabinet next to a power pole with a great pig sign. The corner can disconnect from the rest of it and be placed anywhere else. Adding the wall, this time with a cutout to smoothly fit, the noodle restaurant chain finally has its last location. The next set is the Main Street 3-in-1, offering a music studio, record shop, cafe, and hotel. The hotel is just a bit oversized compared to everything else, so that can go. The rest, the same as before. A new wall, and added into the city. A giant ice cream store is a must-have in any neighborhood. Emphasis on giant. My lord, it's like 8 times the size of this street corner. But like half the size of this train station. The ice cream shop is getting walls, but this time on the inside, as it's already far too big. Moving on to this little sidewalk corner, it's from a small Batman set I got years ago. And that's it. It's a street corner. It do be a street corner. It also is getting a slight upgrade so the light isn't constantly falling off of the post every time. For the train station, I went way more in depth recently on my other channel, and if you're not done procrastinating after you finish watching this video, I'll leave a link down below and you can check it out, but that's only if you have nothing better to do. And let's be honest here, you clearly have nothing better to do, you're watching this right now. To keep it short, I rebuilt it from my childhood Lego collection to make it the centerpiece for my city. And for being 2018 years old, god damn, it holds up pretty well. Oh boy, that's a long time. There's a small but convenient restaurant, tables upstairs to eat and train watch, a ticket machine and counter, as well as a number of other little details all over the place. This will be the only building that I won't be adding a wall to. Maybe one day I'd like to go back and upgrade it, but as for now, I'd like to keep it original. For the next few buildings, they'll still come from a set, but increasingly more modifications and rebuilds will be needed. I guess this selection could be called Easy Plus Mode? I don't know, I'm figuring it out as I go. For my first Easy Plus set, I'm really not confident on that name choice. I have a thrift store. I was actually excited when the set was announced. I like going to the thrift store, and I used to do it pretty regularly with my siblings and great-grandmother, even though it's a friend set. Women. When I found it on sale, I immediately bought it. Getting rid of this ugly sidewalk on the front and adding in a wall, it's good to go. That's glossing over the complete interior rebuild on both the first and second story, a brand new floor because the old one was way too deep, the new iron railing arch for the new plant work, and whatever other little details that had to be adjusted, but let's just call it a new wall. For the next set, I like this skate park. The park itself will take up too much space, but the skate store will be a great addition. Being made from a shipping container, I really like the look of the build. Except for this tree. Oh, and this elevator looks bad. Having a second story at all is a bit weird, a little too LA for me. Of course, now it needs a new roof and new roof supports, changes to the layout to fit, and a few more panels for the back wall. After just a small, huge handful of changes, I really like the look of the shipping container. And if you really like this video, then maybe subscribe. I have other ones. They're not very similar, but I have other ones. Okay, I like this little jewelry store from an older Batman set. Unfortunately, when I got mine, the sticker sheet didn't come in the box. So some extra decorations for the signs will help make it a bit more noticeable. It's also a little thin, being only 4 stud deep, so stretching out the walls and giving a new back now makes it fit right in. From the outside, all the gems are ripe for display, and if anyone thinks about getting an easy payday, well, the owner practices his rights. It'll go right next to the Jade store from earlier, starting some sort of jewelry district. Next, I have this 4+ Spider-Man set, and it is real neat. With a giant vehicle to move in and several smaller ATVs to come out the back for support, it would be a real neat project to turn this into some sort of military transport. However, I'm only here for this tiny little grocery store and its box of cereal. The plate that houses this takes up way too much space, and it's round. Round dumb. Rectangle better. New walls best. Inside is a decent selection of things you'd find in a local convenience store like bread, fruit, cereal, and milk in this commercial refrigerator. The shape of the roof was a bit tricky to keep, and the sign even more so, but both it and this air conditioning unit hide and distract from the sloppy attempt at recreating it. With that corner building in, that wraps up the easy section. Now it's time for the hard section where I have to use Duplo bricks to make fully custom buildings. First off, what makes building with Duplo so... I'm sorry, I'm getting derailed. I realize how ironic it is and the absurdity of asking what makes baby blocks, toys for toddlers, difficult to work with when building with Lego. It's just, it's a bit stupid. Well, anyways, first the parts are twice the size, and that goes for every brick, rod. If it has Duplo on it, it's bigger. Insert penis joke here. All right, why is that a problem, he assumes those at home are asking. With Duplo being so much larger, most connections simply aren't possible. If you ever try to integrate Duplo into one of your own creations, you have to think outside the Lego system to make it work. For example, my first choice is this giant pizza dish. It fits perfectly with Duplo, obviously, but trying to integrate it with some normal Lego, you ever heard the metaphor it's like throwing a hot dog down a hallway? I mean, some guys are into that kind of size disparity, but in this case, it's not really an option. In order to make this particular piece of pie work, I stacked a few of these ring-shaped plates inside the opening on the back, essentially giving it the same properties as a normal brick. I think this makes for a pretty decent restaurant sign. Now I just need to make the rest of the restaurant. Inside is everything needed to make some hot pizza, with a counter and oven for baking, up next to a fire extinguisher for proper OSHA compliance. Next is the sink, and on the opposite corner is a small storage container under the pizza warmers. Finally, an exhaust hood on the wall. On the countertop are some single pizza slices next to extra toppings, cash register, and even a menu I got from this sticker pack a long time ago. Around the back is a small freezer for all the cold ingredients like pepperoni, cheese, and whatever else that someone might need for pizza. The side is a bit big for just a single story building, throwing the proportions off, so a second story is definitely probably maybe required. And in that space is a small karate dojo with weapons and plenty of targets for hitting practice. Just around the door is a bunch of posters, including one needed for the pizza shop. Both the pizza dish and sign come from the same pizzeria set. This time though, the pizza poster is much easier to fit into the build. Once roof access is given with this ladder and a few extra details are thrown on, the rest can all slide right into place. With that, the first building in my city can be inserted. I just spent, well, that was a lot of time for one building. If you think it was a lot of time for you watching this, it was a lot more time for me. Next building! Moreover, this time, I want to make something that isn't just a sign. Oh, what will it be? He says, trying to build anticipation horribly. What could it possibly be? This is a Duplo door. Usually it comes in 2 parts with a frame, but using this frame would 1, make it trivial, and 2, it kind of feels like cheating. The challenge of building with Duplo is when mixing it with Lego. Duplo on Duplo is literally for babies, so no frame, and this will be the door I'm going with. The design is from 1984, giving it a more vintage and distinct look. Also, being made for toddlers, it's pretty common to find some bite marks. What? First thing I need to figure out is just how on earth am I going to connect this? These bars are only meant to connect to one thing, and that's the door frame. This is gonna sound like a bit of an exaggeration, but I'm not lying when I say I've spent the last 30 minutes trying every parts combination I can think of. Clips, Technic, Harry Potter wands, whips, Bionicle. These are all Lego parts. If it's something in this room, it feels like I've tried it. Plus these parts here, and there are more parts on the other side, and none of it has worked. At least not yet. I will keep looking and trying different, more obscure parts. Maybe the solution has to be in here somewhere. Somewhere. It has been about an hour, and instead of spending this time doing something that could have probably helped and benefited the entirety of human civilization, I instead have found the solution to fit a Duplo frame to a non-Duplo door. I've mixed those two up. You couldn't possibly guess what it is. If you're a big Star Wars fan, you'll probably immediately recognize this part. It's a stud shooter from a minifigure. A minifigure holds it, you push down on this lever, and a stud launches. Well, turns out that these two tiny nubs on each side are the exact same size as these 40-year-old bars, which means these stud shooters finally have a use outside of looking bad. Now that the door is figured out, the rest of it should be pretty straightforward. I want to recreate this police box I saw while in Japan. It's not anything too crazy, but I want to get as many details as possible, like this small planter on the side, right under whatever these grills are supposed to be. The other side has this super thin air conditioning unit, that way the building can slide up to any other building. Inside, and I had to take some creative liberties here, there's only one small cell to hold someone temporarily until they can be transferred to a larger prison. Adding some standard equipment, clocks, chalkboard, and a computer, the station is almost set to go. In case the door is ever open, this 1x6 brick from 1990 will be another way to identify the building. The roof was a little bit tricky to recreate, but some curved tiles in the star makes for a pretty convincing recreation. With some additional surveillance, Wi-Fi, and a solar panel, this station is self-sufficient, and I am calling it good. And for the last Duplo piece, as for the part in question, may I introduce you to this giant fish. There's no way to connect it to any normal bricks, and the tail is far too big to attach to any clip. If you were to use this only with normal Lego pieces and no Duplo parts, I think you could probably classify this as another impossible part. I won't, because it does still attach to Duplo, but it is as close to being one without actually being one. Fortunately, another one of man's tried and true method of keep cramming it until something happens will apply here. This time I'd like to recreate this famous fish market sign in Japan. Yeah, I know, more Japan, but I just went on a trip there and I really enjoyed myself. And that doesn't make me a weeb, it makes me cultured. Or a holier-than-thou prick, and that's somehow better? Lego makes corrugated panels to look like metal, and I used some earlier with a skate shop, but not in this blue color. In order to get that same look, I have to stagger these bricks with different plates and tiles. Behind it will be a roof to cover up all that weird, ugly Lego math like it never even happened. The fish will connect using this hot dog element, really taking the cramming alliteration to its absolute extremes with this one. Some white studs and a big red sign, I think it looks pretty similar, especially at this small scale. I would, however, like a little bit of feedback for some sign details. To make the red sign on the top, I have two stickers that might work. This random Ninjago banner or this sticker from a promotional Ninjago sticker sheet. This looks more accurate, but this one says Splash. Underneath the fish market sign, I think, and stick with me here, it would make for a pretty good fish market. Wow. Thank you. What an idea. Thank you. The walls on the side have a similar technique as the sign to have a corrugated metal sheet look because the color also doesn't exist, and it's just a little less pronounced. The back is just a double wide door to easily move in fresh fish, and the front is a counter showing today's catch. Under the awning is a street level sign and security door that's rolled up. Thinking back, if I really wanted a fish market, I could have probably just used this one as the basis. Hindsight. But now, it's time for the impossible parts. I've been collecting for years, so I have a small assortment of strange Lego, but this is up there with the strangest. It's a little foam square that kinda looks like a sponge. Lego parts aren't supposed to do that. This piece, if you can even call it that, came out in 3 sets all the way back in 1997. Ignoring how these official Lego sets look like Barbies, these were only used as cushions or mattresses while still not actually connecting to anything. But the weirdness doesn't stop there. Remember how I called this a square? Well, I lied. While Lego's website Bricklink says it's a 7 stud by 7 stud square, in reality it's more like a 6.5 stud by 6 1/8 studs rectangle. If you're in the same sucks at math tribe that I belong to, then you might not know fractions in Lego aren't very common, and they're especially tricky to build with. Add in the fact that this is completely incompatible with any of those. It all adds up to not a good time. Hi, me from the future editing this, I had a completely different building I was about to show you, and in fact I did show you, but my timeline may have had a oopsie whoopsie and completely died on me, and I had to redo a lot of work. So instead of editing this section, For a second time, I'm just gonna show you the build I actually ended up going with. I mean, it was kind of a waste of time anyways to show you the building that didn't end up using because it didn't work. It's cool, it's cool, it's cool. I'm not upset. Why would I be upset? You know those retail stores that all look the same with super overpriced goods that you don't really need and you can find cheaper alternatives that are slightly worse, marginally worse elsewhere? Yeah, I'm building one of those. Designer stores, that is. I'm building a designer store. I liked my original idea better. It took some tinkering, but using some of these brick tall panel pieces, a small nook can cradle the sponge into place. Avoiding the hole can't actually connect to anything problem. To have this actually fit, I'll have to do some upside down building for the wall to get that extra quarter of a stud of space. The one on the back will sit on top and be sandwiched into place between a tile, the walls, and this decorative arch. Hanging down from the ceiling will be a handful of decorative bags for the current season of whatever the overpriced garbage being marketed to impressionable people that can't afford it is. Through the door that allows access for the staff to change the display is the sales floor, with more high-end bags on display. The walls have the same color scheme as the cushion pieces, with a sand blue bottom for flowers and red clips for berries. I'm making the roof look like glass so it can let some more light in, and also make it feel slightly less cramped. Upstairs is another bag display with a mannequin and decorative window. I use some upside-down Minecraft wolf heads as decorative concrete elements on the roof. This enormous suitcase, also from the Skyline, that theme was strange, could make for another great 3D street, say it with me now, sign. Using the slide, I can clip the bag into place right above the front door. And there we have it, an unnecessary, overcomplicated store to sell unnecessary handbags, what every community needs. On an unrelated note, I will not be making a hospital for the city. For the last impossible Lego part, I can finally make some streets, and to do that, I have this Lego Extra and VIP road tape. I know using a roll of stickers doesn't feel like an impossible thing to use, but hear me out. If I were to stick these onto a table like the pictures from Lego encourage you to do, then I could only use it maybe 1 or 2 times. Okay, then why don't you just put it on some Lego? He says, hypothetically already having an answer to this made-up question in mind. At 10.5-ish studs wide, these rolls are a very odd shape in regards to the Lego palette. And with such a wide space needed, there are only 3 parts that can fully fit the entirety of these stickers. And get this, they're all already roads. So if I really want to use these parts, that means I would have to put them over more than 1 piece. But one of Lego's biggest design rules when it comes to making new sets is to never put a sticker over more than 1 piece. That way, when you take the set apart, it doesn't completely destroy the sticker. In conclusion, that's why this seemingly very possible Lego piece is in fact, or in my uneducated but still correct opinion, an impossible Lego piece. And if you want to disagree, feel free to do so. Go for it. Leave a comment. Tell me how wrong I am. But be warned, I have done nothing but think about this for the past 5 years. If I really wanted to keep this purely Lego, I would probably put this on a cut-up Lego box or something like that. But seeing how I would like to reuse it more than once without it flopping over, no relation to previous jokes made in this video, I'm making it a bit more robust by using some leftover sheets of acrylic that I have. After some hopefully close measurements, and cutting it to size very, very poorly multiple times, and then sanding the whole thing to give the glue something to stick to, cutting once more, and the tape can be attached. With the 2 different designs, I'd like to use the cleaner one for the larger streets, and this one with grass on the sides will be used for smaller side and neighborhood roads. From afar, they look actually good for being overpriced, weaker duct tape. Once you go up close and see how bad my cuts are and some rather poor application to some segments, the effect is considerably less impressive. Finally, after the road plates being added, this whole thing kinda, actually, if I dare say it, looks like a city. Even though it's small, I don't think it's that bad of a start. I'd like to slowly replace all the Monkey Kid sets with mine over time, but for now, do you have any ideas on what I should add or change? Or do you know of any other impossible parts that might make for a good fit in the Lego City? As for now, I'm pretty happy with it, even though it's just sets on a table.